take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it, yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. And if you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you want to get the dub, you gotta tune in live. You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and RobRob. And welcome into Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, I'm your host. A little different today on this show. There's a cartoon. I was up till 4 a.m. I look like hell. So when you're the producer and an animator, you get to make the rules. So I'm the cartoon today. But how you doing, Cody?
Me and you, Rob, you know what I'm dealing with right now. Dealing with the little peek behind the curtains on my real life for those listeners out there. I'm dealing with a current bank issue that's beyond annoying that I could probably spend a whole podcast on at this point. But other than that, this is why I'm glad I do this type of work when I'm doing the fantasy show with you. It's why I love football, because it's definitely an outlet to escape the reality sometimes. So I'm just ready to talk fantasy football with you, bro, for the next hour.
I woke up with the same problem I've woken up with every day of my life. I'm not independently wealthy, so if somebody would like to come in, give Blitz a bunch of money and make that dream come true, we're here for it. So let's get to the show as we always do. We're going to hit you with some news. We're going to get you your studs, duds, start, sits, waiver wires, trade targets, stardom, sit-ems, and of course, the only reason you're here, that streaming defense section there at the end. That's all you put at the end, so you stick around for it. So let's go ahead and tear off into this. Of course, the big news of the week, Antonio Brown, the circus itself, has now joined what's, I guess, Evil Empire South in Tampa Bay. What do you think about AB going to the Bucs? How do you see him, meshing, coming in? Obviously, they got a lot of talent. What do we think about the numbers across the board for everybody?
Yeah, as far as the Bucs, man, I mean, obviously it's a huge addition. If you're maybe like a Tom Brady owner, you might be happy because he might be the only consistent option in fantasy football out of these guys. And then as far as between AB, if you're an AB owner, I wouldn't be necessarily a rush to play him week 9. I think I would like to see how this plays out. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pick up the playbook or they're just going to have him run certain routes and certain packages. So with AB, I would be hesitant to play him for at least the first 2 weeks, at least for sure week 9, and then go from there. Obviously, you're kind of worried with Evans, he's kind of fallen off a cliff the last couple of weeks. I know he's playing banged up. They're doing bracket coverage, but with the addition of AB, that's going to take those double teams away from Mike Evans. So I actually think Mike Evans is going to bounce back from his little slump that he's been on over the past couple weeks. I think he more affects Chris Godwin, actually, because AB does have the ability to play inside the slot and on the outside, and that's what Godwin can do too. I just realized too, since before we get to the injury section, I forgot to put it on there, guys. Godwin fractured his finger. He's already out this week. So Scotty Miller might be playable this week, but I think Evans is going to be a bounce back option. And then also with Gronk, we've been seeing him emerging, getting more and more targets. But again, I'm not sure how AB affects this. I think I said this in our Slack chat when we were talking about this move. I kind of view the Bucs right now passing attack options just like the Steelers. I think you're just not going to be able to guess whose week it is. Just like up there in Steelers, Deontay, or no, it was Juju's week this week. Deontay's going to have a week. Chase Claypool the other week. That's what we're probably going to see as we progress through the fantasy up till the fantasy football playoffs and through the playoffs. Is you're going to see Probably Mike Evans has a good week this week with Godwin out. AB is probably going to come in, and Tom Brady, he's probably going to pepper him, and then he might disappear the next week, and it's a heavy Gronk or a heavy Godwin game. So I am definitely concerned going forward if I own any of these guys that they're just going to be inconsistent.
No, I'm definitely with you. I went ahead. I had the space on a roster, so I added AB a couple weeks ago, hoping he has one game I can flip him for something. But I think that's the goal for me, is that AB does anything and then I move him. Not so much he helps me to get to a fantasy championship. So, we spent all last season talking about him. We're going to keep talking about him this year. So I think I'm done with AB for this morning. Let's go ahead and move into injuries. OBJ suffered torn ACL. He's done for the year. Had to drop him off my fantasy roster this week. Kenyon Drake suffered high ankle sprain, headed to the IR. He hasn't been fruitful for your fantasy roster, minus 1 or 2 performances anyway. Debo Samuel out this week with a hamstring strain, possibly even week 9. Jeff Wilson suffered an ankle injury, headed to the IR after his spectacular game, after a touchdown, after his third one. Seahawks running backs are all kinds of banged up. Chris Carson with a midfoot sprain. Carlos Hyde with a hamstring, and there was a Travis Homer, knee contusion. Yeah. And Philip Lindsay suffered a concussion. Obviously, that's going to just kind of play itself out, and through the course of the week, we'll get you more information as we can here with Blitzalytics. So, of those, I mean, obviously, OBJ's had an up and down season. That one kind of stings, though, as he had finally put together a couple of decent weeks. But I guess the name that sticks out the most to me is Debo Samuel, and then the Seahawks running back situation. So let's touch on those really quickly. I mean, San Francisco's just been beat to hell with the wide receivers anyway. So do we just continue on as we have with this season with this Debo news?
Yeah, obviously Brandon Iuke is the pickup. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more, but I think Iuke is the only guy to have when Samuel is out. And then obviously that just leads to more targets for a guy like George Kittle. So those owners should be happy. I'm not rushing to go grab a Kendrick Bourne or anybody else on that passing attack. And then you asked me about the Seahawks running backs. It's Chris Carson. The expectations he'll miss, but I believe it was Jeremy Fowler said that he might try to play through it. He's known for trying to play through his injuries. But spoiler alert, I'm not liking their matchup this week for any of the running backs. Obviously, Hyde might have to miss if he got. I think it might be a hamstring strain, and then Travis Homer with the knee contusion. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say this, though. I know I don't like the matchup. Just like I said, spoiler alert. But I know there's buys this week. There are so many injuries to running backs this year. It's very hard to find options. So as this week progresses, if it sounds like Chris Carson's not going to play, if it sounds like Carlos Hyde's not going to play, and even Travis Homer, if you want to do a speculative ad even early, if you have room for your bench, go grab DJ Dallas. He's a running back that can be a 3-down back. And if 2 of those 3 guys are going to miss, I could see a heavy workload for him. Again, I'm gonna talk about their matchup later that I don't like, but sometimes you're forced your hand, when it comes to injuries. I mean, for example, in my 12-man league, on one of my 12-man money leagues, I have lost. Well, hopefully he's back this week. Miles Sanders. I got Mostert on IR, and I also have Nick Chubb on IR. I am desperate for running backs in that league. Antonio Gibson is on a bye week, so I might actually go ahead and make that speculative ad of DJ Dallas just because I am so desperate to play a running back with volume.
Right, and that's exactly at this point in the season, you're taking what they're giving you, and there's not a lot left on the table. So,
and I will say this too, really quick, before we wrap this up and move into studs and duds. It doesn't sound like he'll be back this week. If this Carson midfoot sprain and this Hyde hamstring continues to linger, here in a week or 2, you might want to speculative add Rashad Penny. At some point, he's going to be activated off the PUP list.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's just going to be another week or 2 later in the season. It's 2020, man. The injury bug and everything else is wreaking havoc on your lineup. So, like he said, he precluded it. We are going to go ahead and jump into the studs and duds, talk about the guys that either won us weeks or guys who lost you weeks. And we're going to do like we do always, go quarterback you, quarterback me, running back you, running back me, and so on until we nail this whole list. And I'll tell you what, shocked to see one of the dud quarterback name for you. I don't think it's ever popped up even dating back to when this was the hot seat. So I'm going to just give you the floor to drop your studs and duds.
Yeah, so my stud quarterback of the week is the guy I was pushing for everybody to sign on the waivers for like 2 or 3 weeks in a row.
Oh, yeah.
It's Justin Herbert. He finished as the number 1 quarterback this week. He was 27 of 43. He had 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then he showed off that rushing ability. He had 9 rushes for 66 yards and a touchdown, finished with 38.48 points, completely balled out, and probably won some people this week their games this past week. My dud, yeah, I was hesitant to put on it because I'm like, am I talking crap about him? No, but the fact is,
how many opportunities are you going to get to put this name here?
Exactly. I'll probably never get to put this name here again. And the fact is, obviously, he was drafted in the 2nd round, and people are playing him expecting a high performance. And it wasn't necessarily his fault, but you guys probably know who I'm talking about. Patrick Mahomes. He did finish as the number 23 quarterback on the week. And like I said, it's more because of what their defense did in special teams. They won that game. If you would have looked at the box score, you would have probably thought Patrick Mahomes had like 300 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. But no, he was only 15 of 23, 200 yards, a touchdown. He didn't even attempt to run on the day. Just finished with 12 points. Like I said, he wasn't a dud as a player. It just was a dud as a fantasy performance for a quarterback selected in the 2nd round in most drafts.
You know what I'm almost curious about with this before I get into mine is if we can't start seeing more of these performances as Andy Reid starts to not save him for the playoffs, but they brought in Bell. They've got Clyde going. They jump up on teams. I mean, you might be done seeing the 35-40 passes against crap teams from Mahomes for the rest of the season. They're going to win a ring, man. This team is not about week 8 and week 9 football. So, but again, yeah, I'm jelly you got to say he was in the duds because that'll never happen again. So, moving on to mine, I also chose to highlight a rookie quarterback. We talked about it last night on the football hot seat. Who would you rather, Herbert or Burrow? Well, either way you slice the pie this week, it worked out for you. Joe Burrow, number 4 quarterback on the week, 35 of 47, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, had an INT, 6 rushes for 34 yards and one more touchdown that way, 34.6 fantasy points. And I don't know if we haven't talked about it yet here at Blitz, Cody, but I was looking at it. Joe Burrow's on pace to be the 4th most sacked quarterback in a season ever. He's on pace for 64. That would put him at 4th behind David Carr, Randall Cunningham, David Carr again, and then just 1 ahead of John Kitna. So mighty impressive what Burrow's doing under that amount of pressure.
Yeah, and I'm gonna talk about it later. He might be that total might be added.
Right. Let's go ahead and hit him with your running backs then.
Did you do your dud?
Oh no, I don't want to do a dud. I don't want to talk about bad guys. No, I'm just playing. It's one of those days. Again, up till 3-4 in the morning, that'll happen. My dud quarterback on the week is Cam Newton, number 28 quarterback, not even viable in most 2 quarterback superflex leagues. 9 of 15 for 98 yards, 3 picks, and only 5 rushes for a total of 19 yards. Got you 2.8 points. Things are falling apart quickly in New England. If you are a Cam starter, it may be time to have an emergency plan because I'm not sure that he gets out of the next couple weeks as the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. So if for some reason you put all your eggs in the Newton basket, it is time to diversify those funds because it's just not been nice the last couple weeks for Cam Newton. Sorry about that. It was so bad, I almost forgot to talk about him. So whenever you're ready, let's hit your running backs, Cody.
Yeah, so my stud running back of the week is Chase Edmonds. He was a guy, I said 2 or 3 weeks ago to speculative ad in case something would happen to Drake. I actually thought he was going to eventually take over the role. And then Drake had a bounce-back game last week. But now Drake is hurt, like we talked about earlier. And then he kind of just ran with it. He had 5 rushes for 58 yards. He also had 7 receptions for 87 yards on 7 targets, finished with 21.5 points. As we talked about, Drake is headed to the IR, so he's out for a minimum of the next 3 weeks, and he's a plug-and-play running back at this point. And then my dud running back, man, talk about a letdown of a year for a guy selected in the top 5, is Ezekiel Elliot. He finished as a number 40 running back on the week. He had 12 rushes for 45 yards, 1 reception for 6 yards on 2 targets, only finished with 6.1 points. Man, that line is banged up in front of him, and I'm going to go ahead and say this. He still got the name value. If you got him, I would be looking to trade him now.
No, yeah, that's definitely a move on candidate for me. You might be able to pull a nice 2-3 for 1 out of that name value too. So definitely, I mean, go target that Antonio Gibson owner and see if you can work that name value for a better option. So yeah, absolutely. Super surprised to see some of these superstars on this list. Normally you don't get the upper echelon like this. So
right.
My stud running back, speaking of non-upper echelon, it was Jeff Wilson Jr. I'm going to put him out there again, injured on his last touchdown, but had a hell of a week. Number 1 running back, 17 rushes, 112 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 reception, 8 yards, 32 points. Again, just a hell of a week for the guy. Sad to see it end in such a fashion. So wanted to give him just a little extended shine here. My dud of the week, not really a shock. Me and Cody both told you, don't roll him out this week. It's not going to work out, guys. Just fresh in there learning the book. They gave him some touches, but Le'Veon Bell, number 46 running back on the week. Like I said, get him six rushes just to get him into it, right? Looked good on those 6 rushes, averaging just over 6 and a carry. So 39 total yards, 3.9 points. He looked explosive again on those small amount of carries, but again, we told you not to. You guys got overexcited. As soon as somebody jumps in this freaking Chiefs offense, he's an instant start for you. I did peek ahead here at the script, and this is not the last time you'll hear Le'Veon's name this week. So whenever you're ready, Cody, it is wide receiver time.
Yeah, man. My stud wide receiver is Tyler Lockett, man, who put on a show this past Sunday night. Number 1 wide receiver for the week. He had 15 receptions for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns on 20 freaking targets. Russell just kept on peppering him all night. He just completely balled out and got 53 points on the week. I mean, what a performance that he did, and he definitely was a league winner this week. And then my dud, man, Darius Slayton. Finished as a number 76 wide receiver, 2 receptions, 23 yards on 4 targets, only finished with 4.3 points. Just a disappointing performance against a weaker Eagles secondary. I thought he would have a bigger night. I owned him on 3 teams, so that stuck out like a sore thumb to me whenever I looked at my matchups this week. But I ended up winning all 3 of those matchups, but still, I mean, I need some more. He's a definition of a boomer bust wide receiver in fantasy.
Absolutely. A la those old Victor Cruz days is what it feels like. Vic will get you 20, 30 points and then 3 or 4. Yeah. And you're just like, what do I do here? Stop salsa dancing, catch the damn ball. But no, yeah, Slayton has had a rough stretch this season. So for me, my stud wide receiver, same story basically you just told to Tyler Lockett, just getting peppered with mass amounts of targets and was completely unguardable. Devonte Adams, number 2 wide receiver on the week, 13 receptions, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 44.6 points. Man, I shudder to think that you had a team with Devonte Adams and Tyler Lockett on it. And then did you really even need anyone else playing?
Right.
Both of those guys, I personally, I didn't get to watch as much of the Seahawks game as I wanted, but I watched. Like, Rodgers just watched Devonte Adams run down the field, never looked away, and just chucked him the ball. Everyone watching the game knew where it was going, still couldn't do anything to get it. That's why he's one of the best. Dud, this one stings because, like you say, you have Slayton on a bunch of lineups. I think I got DJ Chark just about everywhere. Number 79 wide receiver on the week. 1 reception for 26 yards. He did lead the team in targets, but they're not quality targets. Again, we talk about how volume is king in fantasy football, but the guy's been getting the volume and just not translating. I don't know what to do. Popped 3.6 points this weekend, and I'm at a loss trying to figure out DJ Chark.
It's a little disappointing. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a report before the game that the team was considering benching Gardner Minshew. DJ Chark has basically called him out in the past 2 press conferences about Gardner's ability to get him the ball. And I was watching that game. I want to say it was the fourth quarter. It was like an out route or something. It was on the sideline, and Gardner completely overshot the ball on him. And DJ was just like, he kind of threw his arms up in the air, and like you could just look on his face that he's just disgusted with Gardner Minshew. So sounds like it's a quarterback to wide receiver issue going on.
Yeah,
with those
it is,
two.
and I'll be 100% with you. Even if he doesn't lose his job this season, the Gardner Minshew experiment in Jacksonville is over, guys. The moment they can upgrade at quarterback, they will. So it was fun while it lasted, Mr. Stash, but
he'll be around. Like I was saying before the season, he's this generation's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's just going to be that backup that can maybe occasionally come in and win you games, and maybe
who's
even
super fun when he gets to play, but you're not sitting
and
there
when he
like
gets
start
hot,
him. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's just like Fitzpatrick. You're either going to get a good Minshew or you're going to get a terrible Minshew. And outside week one, maybe there's another game or two I can't think of. It's been a major disappointment, especially over the past month.
Absolutely, he has, and that's spreading down the line to the receiving corps. So, whenever you're ready, bud, let's knock out these tight ends.
Yeah, this one's more of a pat on my back move. He was my start tight end last week. TJ Hawkinson, number 4 tight end. He had 5 receptions for 59 yards, 1 touchdown on 6 targets, 16.9 points in this past game. Kind of seeing Stafford depend on him, starting to throw him the ball. Obviously, it's a huge sign when Stafford went to him on that game-winning touchdown. I don't like the matchup. A little spoiler alert for later. But TJ Hawkinson has been a pleasant surprise, or not a pleasant surprise. It's been nice to see him quietly emerge in their passing attack over this past few weeks. And then my dud is Jonnu Smith.
Killed me.
Number 40 tight end, 1 reception, 9 yards on only 4 targets, 1.9 points. I also, when I was looking at the tight end list, Anthony Fursker, who's another tight end on the Titans, scored more than him. It was just, I was very surprised to see his stat line because Pittsburgh was up 21-0 by the second quarter. So obviously Tennessee had to play catch up ball, and you would think he would have more involvement, but it was just a disappointing week for Jonnu.
Wasn't it though? Lost my matchup by right around 10 points. And he was about 12 points off of his expected total. So thanks for not showing up this week, Jonnu. We'll talk about you a little later as well. And again, I hate tight ends, so I'll make this quick. So Logan Thomas is my stud of the week. I'm going to give the WFT guys a little something to cheer about here. 4 receptions, 4 targets, 60 yards, 1 touchdown, 16 points. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest here. That's the number 5 tight end. 16 points. Like, you are hunting touchdowns from this position if you're not lucky enough to have Kelsey or Kittle, and for most of the season, Jonnu Smith. But you're hunting touchdowns. I found one with Logan Thomas this week, so thanks, bud. Hunter Henry, tight end number 28 on the week, 3 receptions, 7 targets, 23 yards, 5.3 points in a matchup I thought he'd do well in. So a little confusing. Hunter Henry's been up and down this year too, even with the emergence of Herbert. It's this tight end position, dude. I hate it. I hate tight ends. Not like on a personal level, but I hate them.
Yeah, it's a rough position as always.
As always, hunt those TDs, guys, and when you get them, celebrate. So let's go ahead, Cody, and move to your top 5 waiver wire claims.
Yeah, so if we have a new listener or anybody viewing the show today, as far as my waiver claim section, how I work this, as I do a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex. The qualifications is they have to have more than 50% availability in Yahoo leagues. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going. My quarterback ad of the week is Teddy Bridgewater. He's available in 57% of the leagues. He's a good streaming quarterback this year. This past week, he had 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushes for 10 yards. And then they're playing the Falcons on Thursday night. So the Falcons defense is awful. I think they're actually the number 1 defense to allow quarterbacks points per game this year. So if Teddy's available, go pick him up and play him this week. He's definitely somebody you can play the matchups with as you go through the season. I think he's one of those guys. If you're one of the people that rotate quarterbacks, you have 2 quarterbacks on your roster, you pick the matchups. He might be a guy that you want to have on your roster. My running back out of the week, I know I said two weeks ago or last week, I'm avoiding the Jets, but as we talked about earlier with all the injuries, you kind of need to search for volume at this point and who's getting the opportunities, and that's LaMichael Pirine for the Jets. He's starting to get more play out of the backfield as they shift from Gore to him as being the guy that's probably going to end up leading touches as we go through the season. Not a crazy stat line. He only had so I forgot to mention he's available in 84% of the leagues. This past week he had 11 rushes for 39 yards, a touchdown. He also had 2 receptions for 16 yards on 3 targets. Now, he's more of a bench ad as a low-end flex play if you need it because of buys as we go through this next month. But I think he's definitely worth an ad on your bench and see if he ends up getting better as the season goes, as he gets more touches. Again, I'm not super excited because he is with Adam Gase and the Jets, but you can't ignore the volume he's getting right now. So I think he's worth adding on your bench. My wide receiver ad of the week is Sterling Shepard.
Hey, it's 2018 again. Sterling Shepard showing up.
he came back last week off his injury. He's available in 71% of the leagues. He had 6 receptions for 59 yards, 1 touchdown on 8 targets. That was the line. That was the line. I was kind of hoping for my boy Darius Slayton. But Daniel Jones was looking his way with the 8 targets. And then there's also rumors that Golden Tate and even potentially Evan Ingram could be dealt by next Tuesday's trade deadline. And if Golden Tate's gone, I mean, I like Sterling Shepard as a wide receiver 3 play. Even maybe you can consider a wide receiver 2 if he keeps up the target in that production as the season goes. So yeah, he's definitely a guy that should be on your bench, probably a matchup base play at this point. But if Ingram or especially if Golden Tate do get traded by the deadline, I definitely like him as a playable wide receiver going forward. And then my tight end out of the week, RobRob already talked to him. He was his stud. It's Logan Thomas, available in 74% of the leagues. RobRob already went over the stat line. I just listed him this week because he's kind of been inconsistent, but he's kind of being back to being on the consistent side. I mean, outside Terry McLaurin, he's basically their only option in the passing attack. That's being that Kyle Allen, not Kyle. Yeah, it is Kyle Allen.
Who knows from week to week who's going to be his quarterback? Let's be real. Right,
that's true too. And he's a big body red zone threat, as RobRob said. You might want to be chasing touchdowns, so he should be getting red zone touchdowns. Again, it's a tight end position, so who knows? I could be completely wrong. And then
I get a little bit a few years ago. Austin Hooper before he broke out, right? And I broke out in Austin Hooper breakout levels. Let's be frank here, but I get a little bit of that from Logan Thomas, where I could see another 4, 5, 6 touchdowns from this guy the remainder of the season, as Washington legitimately has a chance to win that division. And it's Ron Rivera, dude. Rivera will straight up just go for it. Like, they call him Riverboat for a reason. So I like Logan Thomas if you're looking for a low-end tight end to watch, especially for streaming throughout the year, for that reason alone.
Yep. And then wrap this section up. My flex ad of the week. Surprised he was available in this many leagues, especially when the news came out last week that more than likely Aaron Jones was going to miss the game. I know I picked him up and played him this past week. Jamal Williams, according to Yahoo this morning, he's available in 61% of the leagues. He had 19 rushes, 77 yards, a touchdown, 4 receptions on 37 yards and 5 targets. He is one of those probably top 5-ish handcuffs that you have that should be rostered in all leagues, in my opinion, because if Aaron Jones misses, he has the ability to put up the RB1 type of numbers. So again, my waiver claims of the week: quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, running back LaMichael Pirine, wide receiver Sterling Shepard, tight end Logan Thomas, and my flex ad of the week is Jamal Williams.
Not mad at any of those. And if you can't find somebody on the waiver wire, let's say maybe you want to trade for somebody. So I'm going to give you top 5 trade targets for me. I'm going to run through them real quick because, again, everything depends on your roster. But these are some names to look out for. Number 1 for me, Melvin Gordon. Again, like Cody said, running backs are just falling like flies, man. So you've got to try and reach out and get a guy who has an opportunity to be a bell cow. I think Melvin Gordon is an option here. The rest of them just aren't for sale. So it's not that Melvin Gordon's going to be great. It's just you're not getting your hands on a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You're not getting your hands on an Alvin Kamara. You won't be even getting your hands on a CMC who's still out. So at this point, you've got to temper expectations and go get a guy like a Melvin Gordon. Now, here's why I say this. He does not face a team ranked better than 19th against the opposing fantasy team's running backs in the next 4 weeks. You've got the Chargers ranked at 19. You've got Atlanta ranked at 21. You've got Las Vegas ranked at 31. Follow that up with Miami based at 26. Also, Phillip Lindsay with the concussion. Don't know how long he's out, if that lingers. All that together says these next 4 weeks for Melvin Gordon could be pretty fruitful. So reach out and see if you can grab him. Another name we've talked about here in this section before is Myles Gaskin. This is going to be the last opportunity you have to get this guy. Still current running back 15 in PPR scoring with only 1 touchdown. Anytime you can get that kind of consistency, then you hope that eventually the touchdown's going to come. Again, you've got to get him. He's 8th in running back targets, 5th in receptions, and he's coming off his bye week, so you no longer have to worry about that. The third name here for me, the only receiver on the list that I put this week is Allen Robinson, who quietly is having an okay year. I didn't really realize it, that he's only had 1 game under 9 targets. And it was a 4-target game. He's 8th in yards in the league and in receptions and has a favorable playoff schedule. Again, you're not going to get the super cream of the crop from wide receiver. So I think Allen Robinson is this guy who could hit wide receiver one numbers from week to week for you. So go ahead and grab that. Mark Andrews should have had a big week, did not. He's been up and down. I'll be honest with you, though. Same thing. We talked about chasing touchdowns. He offers you top 3 potential every week for Baltimore, and he's already passed his bye. So if you're in need of a tight end, I think this is probably the upper crust of what you could get. And then the last one here is just kind of a gut feeling. Latavius Murray, he's a flex play option in certain matchups with Kamara in. And should Kamara miss a week or miss some time at all, I think Latavius Murray becomes a top 10, top 15 back most weeks. Again, this one's a long play. This is a stash a guy on the bench. This is a speculative ad because, like I said, for that Melvin Gordon piece, there's just not a lot of running backs available at this moment. So again, my names are Melvin Gordon, Myles Gaskin, and Latavius Murray from the running back position, Allen Robinson from wide receiver, and my tight end to target is Mark Andrews. So whenever you're ready, Cody, we're going to hit these start and sits like we do every week. You'll go quarterback, I'll go quarterback, just like we did with studs and duds. So whenever you're ready, get in with them start and sits.
So, yeah, my start of the week, somebody that had a rough start to his game against the Bengals and then, made 22 completions in a row and had, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked like he put a cheat code in on Madden for the end of the game. Right. It was insane.
Yeah, so I got Baker Mayfield this week as a start against the Raiders. Las Vegas is the 3rd worst defense against quarterbacks this year. They're allowing 23 points per game. I know he just lost Odell Beckham, but Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones filled in just fine. And I think he's going to keep the ball rolling against that Raiders defense. And then my sit of the week is Matthew Stafford against the Colts. My Colts, best defense against the quarterback position this year. They only allow 11.7 points per game. I would avoid playing Matthew Stafford this week if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Even after that giant comeback, this is just not a juicy matchup. We say juicy matchup. This is as dry as a matchup can get. So for me, my start of the week, you said it, he's available in a lot of leagues. So this is a good streaming option for you. If you do that, or just pick him up. He has not been a disappointment this year, but Teddy B going down to face that just absolute dumpster fire of an Atlanta defense after the Falcons give up yet another win. It's all falling apart for Atlanta. You go ahead and start everybody against Atlanta and reap those benefits. Teddy B for me has a big week. Again, Atlanta the worst against quarterbacks, giving up 27.6 points per game on average. My sit here, not really, because, I mean, the Rams have been good against the quarterback, okay? But we're not in the top 5. We're not dominant against the position. There have been points that have been had against the Rams. They give up the 7th fewest points at 16.1 points per game. My thing is everyone's going to be itching to start Tua, right? Oh, it's Tua time, baby, and Burrow's electric, and Herbert's coming out here slinging. He's still got Jalen Ramsey in the back, and he's still got Aaron Donald coming for his face. Give it a week, guys. Give it a week before you're all in on Tua. Now, if Tua comes out and makes my Rams look silly, then we'll reassess at that point. But I'm not running out to just go grab a Tua and give him a start based on what Burrow and Herbert have done. Chill your britches, Twitter. So, again, start for me, Teddy B. My sit is going to be Tua, and whenever you're ready for running backs, Cody. Here it is. We told you we'd talk about him again. I called this, dude. I'm with you. I saw you wrote it. I was so mad. I was like, oh, he took it.
Yeah, I thought you wanted this one, but this week was kind of hard because like a lot of the teams that are that give up a lot of points to the running back position are facing like how do you like no duh starts.
Yeah, because that's what we try and hit you with. Like, obviously, you're going to start like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Get the hell out of here.
Yes, exactly.
Or you're going to start Jonathan Taylor. But no, we're trying to find these middle names for you here, and it gets hard
I didn't want to go with the obvious start because it was who the Packers like the Packers got like the
Vikings. Yeah, so if you have Dalvin Cook, you're rolling him.
You're going to play him. Like, Madison, I don't have to say start. I don't have to, because the report was like, because I looked into it, I was like, oh, could I do Alexander Madison? But then I looked into it, and Tom Pelissero said it's 99.9999% chance that Dalvin Cook plays. I'm like, well, I can't list Dalvin Cook because he's a automatic play. Like, right. So we always try to give you guys names that might be debatable in this section. The dud for RobRob this week is my start this week. Le'Veon Bell. I say not as like a RB1 or 2. If you have a flex spot, I say he's a perfect flex option because usually with your flex option, you want to go for a guy that has a high ceiling. Right. He's going against his former team, the Jets. He's gonna want to ball out. Andy Reid is not, coaches aren't opposed to letting players ball out against their former teams. So I think at worst, he's going to get you at least a touchdown and maybe like 30, 40 yards that he just got this past week. On top of that, the Jets are the 8th worst defense against running backs this year. They're allowing 21.6 points per game. Sure, CEH is going to get part of that. But like I said, I think Le'Veon still gets you he had 39 yards last week, at least a touchdown on top of that. Get you at least that 10 to 15 point range at minimum.
I think Le'Veon's floor is 15, bro. Like, yeah.
And I could see him getting like 2 or 3 touchdowns and making the Jets look silly.
Tell me you don't think he was in that meeting with Andy Reid via Zoom and was like, yo, bro, 2 weeks from now, I don't care what you do with me week 1 or afterwards as far as volume, but you got to let me ransack the Jets, B.
Yeah. He is, too. I can't wait. I honestly want to see it done just because I can't stand what they did to him in New York.
Doesn't it feel like the whole world gets to get even with Adam Gase if Le'Veon Bell goes off? Like, I think that's why everyone's rooting on it.
If he goes off, I know they keep sounds like they might just hold on to him and just fire him at the end of the year. But I mean, come on, if another former player goes off, and especially against that former coach, it's time to really just kind of cut bait. And then to wrap up my running back sit, I already kind of spoiled it, but it's any of the Seahawks running backs against the Niners. The Niners are the best against running backs. They're only allowing 12.7 points per game. Again, I know there's injuries, so if you're forced to play one of these Seahawks running backs, whoever's activated for the game, dependent on health, I understand it. But if you can, I would avoid playing any Seahawks running back this week.
Truth. I had the same issue you did with running back, trying to find one that's a start for me. So I'm not quite. That alarm is back on for the. I haven't told this. There's a school across the street from me that they're tearing down, and every hour the alarm goes off. I'm pulling my hair out individually right now. Sorry about that, but I'm not sure what the running back situation or if what the injury report is on Miles Sanders. I wrote Boston Scott, but frankly, it's whichever one gets the go, right? You're talking about they're giving up the 6th worst at 23.1 points per game. So I think whether it be Boston Scott or Miles Sanders, I think you're comfortable like we said with Le'Veon Bell, for a floor of about 15 points, right? And I think, again, with those numbers, you're looking at a ceiling in the 20s to 30s. So for me, Boston Scott or Miles Sanders, whoever gets the go is the go for me. And my sit, I went with Deandre Swift because, again, the Colts defense, whether it be against quarterbacks or running backs, has just been absolutely lights out. They're the sixth best at 14.9 points per game. I know a lot of people have hit that DeAndre Swift bandwagon, and they've hit it hard. Like Cody said, lots of injuries, so this may be a temper expectations for me more than anything. But again, I think you lower your expected output for Mr. Swift this week. So whenever you're ready, Cody, hit him with them wide receivers.
Yeah, so my wide receiver start this week is Brandon Iuke against the Seahawks. We talked about how Debo Samuel is already ruled out this week, so I expect him to continue his production that we saw that he did against the Patriots, especially because Seattle is the worst defense right now against the wide receiver position. They're allowing 38.2 points per game, and that's like 6 points higher than the second worst defense against wide receiver. It's been pretty bad. It's going to be Brandon Iuke. I think is a great play this week, especially if you're out Debo Samuel and maybe because I think he was available in like 51% of the leagues when I was looking up my waiver claims. So if he's out there on the waivers, you better go grab him now. My sit of the week is Devante Parker against the Rams. The Rams are the second best defense against wide receivers, only allowing 16.1 points per game. They got Jalen Ramsey. Last week with my sit or caution play of the week was Allen Robinson, and look what happened. Allen Robinson didn't do much in that game. So I kind of view Devante Parker in that same boat where, sure, he might get the targets, but I don't know if there's going to be the production that you're going to want to get from him.
Right, absolutely. So, man, it feels like we've got three defenses in my brain that you can just run anybody for. Seattle, Atlanta, Dallas, and the Jets. If you're playing those guys, I'm starting you. Like, that's what it's looking like for me. So, I'm gonna hit you with my wide receivers right now. It's Travis Fulgum for me. Dude's having a monster season. Story of the year. Everybody loves him. Even the only guys that don't are Dallas fans. So, speaking of, Dallas has given up the fourth most points at 30 points per game. Check it out. So there's 4 teams starting me. Dallas is one of them. I think he continues his hot streak. I think Dallas's defense. I feel like Dallas as a whole has just given up. So I think the Eagles come in, try and send a message here, and I think Fulgham helps that message be spread. My sit of the week. You mentioned it earlier talking about these Steelers wide receivers. It's hard to pinpoint who's going to do what on what week. Well, it's even harder this week because they're playing Baltimore, who's legit. Fifth best at the position at only 19.2 points per game. Trying to figure out which one of these guys is going to get what percentage of that already low point per game output. Not something I'm really looking forward to do, although, again, it's going to be hella hard to sit a Deontay Johnson after what he did last week or sit a Chase Claypool after what he's done this season. So, again, this is a more so temper expectations probably, but if you can afford it, I don't think I roll any of them against this Baltimore defense. So, all right, Cody, let's hit these tight ends here.
So, yeah, my tight end start of the week is Jimmy Graham against his former team in the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans is the second worst defense right now against the tight end position. They're allowing 12.6 points per game. And I'm pretty sure they have allowed a tight end to catch a touchdown in every game this year. So I definitely like outside. I know Ian Thomas did not catch a touchdown this past week. So in 5 of their 6 games, they have allowed a tight end to catch a touchdown. So obviously you got the revenge game factor. And then so I do like Jimmy Graham as a play this week from the end of the week. It was my stud, TJ Hawkinson against the Colts. I know he's been emerging as that passing threat, but he has a rough matchup this week. Colts are the best defense against tight ends. They only allow 2.2 points per game. Plus, they're going to be. I think he should be back hopefully this week. But Darius Leonard should be back in that lineup, and they're doing that without Darius Leonard over the past 2 or 3 games. So, yeah, if you got T.J. Hawkinson, I'd avoid playing him this week if you can.
Given any chances, I would too. Like I said, that Colts defense is stout. My starting tight end, Jonnu Smith, I know he had a bummer game. He cost me a week too, guys. Don't worry. But he's going up against the Bengals. Cincinnati's second worst at the position, giving up 12.6 points per game. I think this past week was more of a fluke than the rest of the season where he was very reliable. This, to me, isn't a case of burn me once and I bench you. I'm rolling with Jonnu again. I think this will be a quality week for him. My sit tight end of the week, Higbee's out, yeah? I took a note there that Higbee's out, right, Cody?
Well, he was out this past week. He wasn't inactive, but I don't know about going. Obviously, we just have to see.
I have a gut feeling Higbee's going to be out, and a lot of people are going to overcompensate that and just slide Gerald Everett in against Miami, and I think that's a bad call. Even if Higbee goes, I'd sit whatever Rams tight end, but I know a lot of people out there are playing that, well, if Higbee's down, give Everett a go, and he usually makes it happen. Miami's second best against the position at 4.2 points per game. Again, no Higbee doesn't mean a huge game here for Everett, and if Higbee goes, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. You're probably having to lucky touchdown to make the week count from the tight end position for a Ram this week, so I'm not feeling it. So my tight end start, Jonnu Smith. Feel comfortable with it, guys. Don't let this game fool you. And my sit is Rams tight end, specifically Gerald Everett. Cody, it's that time. We've made it all the way to the most important part of the show. I don't even know why we do the rest. This is the only reason people listen. So hit them with the top 5 streamable defenses, brother.
Yeah, so my top 5 streamable defenses, we'll start with the low-hanging fruit, Chiefs versus Jets. I hope if you've been using the Chiefs over the past couple of weeks, you have not dropped them. Obviously, everybody knows sack potential, turnover potential. I don't have to go into too deep. Jets offense sucks. So anytime you see them, whoever they're facing, try to go even speculate, add that defense if you can afford even a roster spot on the bench. My number 2 top 5, my number 2 streamable defense this week is the Eagles against the Cowboys. We just saw what the Washington football team did to that Cowboys offense. And then now they're going against the Eagles, who have a very great defensive front that can get after the quarterback. Andy Dalton is currently in concussion protocol. We might see Ben DiNucci, who was a 6th or 7th round draft pick. He's a rookie quarterback for Dallas. So I don't think that's going to end well for the Cowboys. Only the sacks because of the poor offensive line play, but I could see I could see multiple turnovers in this game, like pick sixes, stuff like that. So I like the Eagles defense against the Cowboys this week. My number 3 streamable defense this week is the Bucs against the Giants. The Giants offense has completely struggled this year. I don't really see the Daniel Jones performance against the Bucs like we did last year. It seems like it's a completely different team. So there's obviously the sack potential because of the New York offensive line has not played up to par this year. And then on top of that, Daniel Jones continues to struggle with his turnovers. So I could see some sacks and turnovers by the Bucs defense on Monday night. My number 4, kind of talked about this earlier when you talked about how many sacks that Joe Burrow is dealing with this year. I think the Titans against the Bengals is a good streamable defense this week. Not only the Bengals offensive line is awful, and they're giving up sacks, but Jonah Williams got hurt this past week. He potentially could miss the game, and he is their best offensive lineman that blocks the blind side of Joe Burrow. So I see a lot of sack potential between, Jeffrey Simmons, Jadeveon Clowney, Harold Landry getting after him. And then Joe Burrow is still a rookie quarterback. He's been playing great this year, but he's still suspect to, throwing those rookie interceptions. So, I think the Titans will be a good streamable defense for people this week. And then number 5, the Saints versus the Bears. The Saints defense has actually kind of been the disappointment. They've been letting up a lot of big plays, but how ugly is that Bears offense? They feel like they struggle to move the ball. And even if they do score some points, it's not going to be more than 20 points. It feels like they can barely get field goals and touchdowns. So I just like it. I like the Saints because it seems like a low scoring game. by the Bears offense. And then there always is a potential of, sacks because the Bears offensive line isn't that great. And then maybe the Saints can jump on some balls and get some turnovers as well. So again, my top 5 streamable defenses this for week 8. Chiefs against the Jets, Eagles against the Cowboys, Bucks against the Giants, Titans against the Bengals, and Saints against the Bears.
Not mad at it. Like I said, we talked earlier about Joe Burrow being on pace to be top 4 in sacks. He's averaging getting sacked 4 times a game. Titans defense legit, bro. There's points on points right there. So doesn't look like we had any questions from the chat. I'll throw out a real quick one. If you guys got any questions, while Cody's saying his goodbyes, I'll take them and I'll ask them. But you better get them in quick. So Cody, whenever you're ready, man, hit him with the goodbyes. Plug what you want to plug.
Well, you know what? We got to plug this thing right here. Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia. This bad boy, look how thick it is. It's the top 22 players for all 32 teams from the last 3 draft classes that have 12 regular season starts or less from the previous years, not including this year. Full of information. Obviously, you got big known names in this report, or you can write up the report on a guy I talked about earlier with the Seattle running back injuries. DJ Dallas, I wrote up as a report in this book. This thing is only $35. Go to blitzalytics.com/shop to order it. And now, if you're not a physical reader, you kind of want to read on your tablet, the PDF is only available for $15. The individual team PDF, if you just want to read about your favorite team, it's only $5. It's a great way to support us, guys. We don't, we like to provide the free content. This is our way we can start building Blitzalytics. So if you like what you get from us as far as our podcasts and our articles, buy the book, man. It's great information that can help you not only know every team and every player for the rest of the season, but if you're like a dynasty football player, this can help you project maybe some trades you want to make for next season as you can plan ahead. And then on top of that, if you like this video, if you like today's episode, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to us, why haven't you? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you know when any of our shows go live. I'll be back with Cody Talks NFL on Friday around this same time. Of course, we got the football happy hour that me and RobRob are on as well with Jack Bourgeois and Roy Countryman. That's on 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. But there's also shows like the Blitz Breakdown, the Steel City Sermon that you get on this network. And, of course, hopefully in the future, as we grow this thing, there will be more shows to come. And then if you ever had to miss the episode, go subscribe to our Blitzalytics podcast network. All major platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, you name it. If you go to Google and search Blitzalytics Podcast Network, you'll find us on any major platform. Subscribe to that so you can always get the audio versions of these shows if you want to maybe listen to this on the go. And also, too, if you like the episode, go tell a friend about it. Let's grow this. Let's grow this Blitz fan base. I'd like to see more people in our comments, more people watching these live videos, more people listening to our episodes when it's on the network. So please go tell a friend. Other than that, I do want to thank everybody for tuning into this week's episode. I'll be back on this channel on Friday for Cody Talks NFL. Other than that, for our fantasy football fans, I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we didn't get any questions in there today. I guess we answered them all by being just McAwesome. So we'll go ahead and get this show on the road. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at RobRobGraphics. If you have any questions, DMs are always open, so go ahead and hit me up. That's going to do it for the show. I want to thank Cody. I want to thank all our listeners. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into the Fantasy Voyage. And like I say every week, man, we'll see you next week, and I wish you luck and a big dub for this week's game. So, see you then, guys. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your captain speaking. You are now aboard the Fantasy Voyage Express. Time to pack your bags and let us take you on a journey to victory. Come on, y'all, let's take a ride. You ain't gotta say a word, just slide inside. It's time to take your ass on another kind of trip, cause you ain't at the top if you don't got the shit. Grab some chips and a drink to sip and close your eyes and hit that switch. We're going to a place where everybody kick it. Yeah, Blitzalytics. Ain't no friends and there ain't no simping, cause there ain't no team about to catch me tripping. Do you gotta get a stack or a third tier back? We got you covered all season to the ship from the draft. Take you to a place where you get that win, give you more than enough to defeat your friends. If you can't take the heat, get your ass out the kitchen. We on a mission. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, slippity slide. When it's all up on the line, we can ease your mind. Come along and ride on this fantasy. Slide, slide, who ride? If you wanna get the dub, you gotta tune in live.
You are now watching Fantasy Voyage, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here are your hosts, Cody Manning and RobRob.